morning, boys and girls. Today we'll discuss something about the starting of the marine boilers. We had already given an introduction about what a boiler is, what are the kinds of boilers, and fire tube boiler, water tube boiler, how the steam is generated, why the steam is required, and all that. So today we'll just see how the boiler is supposed to be started on board a ship. So this procedure is not exactly applicable to all the ships. Well, in general, this is the procedure. So let's see how it goes about. First of all, you have to make sure that the water is adequately filled up in the boiler. That's the most important point. And you should ensure that the water level is just above the low level, or it is on the low level. The reason being, once you start boiling the water, it starts to expand and obviously the level starts to rise. So first time when you want to start, the level of the water should be around slightly higher than the low level. And you also know why it should not be less than that, because if it is low level, as I already told you, you can't start the boiler. So taking that into account, we'll have to make sure that the vent valve, which is there on the top of the steam drum, is also kept open. Now the reason is very simple, because once there is no pressure in the boiler, obviously when you have to start it, the air, whatever is there inside, gets displaced when steam starts getting produced, and ultimately you have to keep the air vent open till about 1 bar or 1.5 bar, 2 bar maximum. So normally at 1.5 bar you close it. So assuming that it is 1 bar, you can see that the pressure gradually starts to rise. The steam becomes, saturated steam starts to get accumulated in the boiler steam drum, and the steam, along with the water vapor, starts to come out from the air vent. So in that case, you'll have to probably close the air vent once the steam starts to come. Okay, now let us go further. Check that the steam stop valve is closed. That is also very important. You have to make sure that the steam stop valve is also closed, because you just can't keep it open once the boiler is not having any pressure. Once the desired pressure is reached, only then can you open the main steam stop valve. That too, it should be opened very slowly, because you have to prevent what is called as steam hammering. Now steam hammering is normally happening when you open the valve all of a sudden, because the line happens to be empty initially, and when you open the valve fully and a little bit fast, the steam gushes under pressure through the lines, and you intend to have what is called as displacing whatever water is there, pushing it on the return side, thereby causing steam hammering. So the next point is you have to make sure that the fuel valves are all open before starting the ignition of the boiler, and then the water side should also be open. The water valves, maybe the feed check valve, should also be open. Well, now coming back, we'll have to start the boiler first in the automatic mode. I advise always to start in the automatic operation, because there will not be any compromise on the safety part, and all the trips will automatically get activated. So the first point is you have to make sure that the breaker is on, and whatever relevant valves regards fuel or water all should be open. And then the first and foremost thing is the boiler FD fan, which is called as a forced draft fan. Now the forced draft fan is powered by an electric motor, and it takes in air from the engine room and supplies it into the boiler furnace, and basically that action is called as purging, P-U-R-G-I-N-G. Now what is purging? It's basically venting the air, or the venting the furnace of the combustible material which was already present in the earlier cycle. Now that is very much essential. We have different kinds of purging, which is pre-purging and post-purging. Pre-purging is running the FD fan initially before the boiler burner starts, and post-purging is running the fan after the burner stops to fire. Now both these are very critical, failing which, if you do not follow this simple procedure of purging, there are lots of possibilities of backfiring. We'll see later in the next video what is meant by backfiring. So assuming that the FD fan is started, it should be run for presumably about 3 to 5 minutes in automatic mode, and there will not be any particular indication to tell you whether the purging has been done or not. More to say that maximum 3 minutes or 4 minutes is enough for you to ventilate the furnace and get rid of the combustible gases or material which were present during the earlier cycle. Now assuming that has been done, the next point is automatically the pilot burner tends to kick in. Now before the pilot burner, what happens is the signal is given to the electrodes, or the ignition electrodes, and they trigger a spark. Now once the spark is jumping between the two electrodes, which is called as the igniters, the pilot burner kicks in and a small what you call a flame, which is known as a pilot flame, is observed. Now this flame can be seen through the glass or the peephole in front of the boiler furnace. Now once this pilot flame is sensed, you have something called as a flame eye, like your normal human eye what you have, which senses anything what is in front of you. There's something called as a flame eye also in the boiler, maybe one, maybe two, which senses the quality or the intensity of the flame and gives a signal to the automation system to continue with the next operation. So assuming that the flame eye has sensed the what you call pilot burner, it gives a signal to the system to start the what you call the main burner, and then the main burner kicks in, because once the main burner kicks in, the big fire is going to be happening inside. So automatically the flame eye continues to sense the bigger flame, and then it says, once it feels that the intensity of the flame is all right, it will give a signal back to the pilot burner to shut off. Along with the pilot burner, your igniter also will cease to operate. So both these will be stopped, and then the main burner will continue to fire. Now this is the actual procedure in the automatic mode, and there are no safeties compromised in this case. And if so, by any chance, if there is a backfire or anything happening by any chance, then the safeties will come into the picture, and automatically it will trip the fuel circuit with the solenoid valve getting closed, and the main burner will go off immediately, and automatically the purging will start, or the post purging will continue to run, and it will ventilate the furnace for the next cycle to commence again. Well, all this will not start unless you press the reset switch. That is very, very important again, because since it is an automatic operation, the reset has to be pressed manually. That means a manual intervention is required for any of this resetting of the alarms, whatever alarms be. So in this case, we have seen what alarm is: flame failure. That means if there is a flame present and it accidentally goes off after the main burner lights up, that alarm will come as a flame failure alarm, which is sensed by the flame eye, and that is going to probably make the boiler stop and not start it again in the automatic operation, unless the person there resets it by pressing the reset switch. Now once again, it's not simple just by pressing the reset switch. You have to ensure what the problem was, or why the boiler tripped in the first place. It could be just a flame failure alarm there, and you'll have to go into further investigations as to why the flame failure alarm had come. Was it because of the pressure reduction, or was it because of any water content in the fuel, or was it because of any improper firing taking place, or maybe excessive smoke? There's so many reasons for flame failure. So you'll have to go one by one into checks of why this flame failure was triggered, and then once you are rectified the problem, press the reset switch again, and automatically the boiler starts in the auto mode again. So this is basically the operation of how the boiler is to be run in the automatic mode. So in the next video, probably we can discuss further about the manual operation of how it's to be done. Right? Thank you so much.